last great hope of Earth.
This is a guy who sees the world completely opposite of President Trump.
Hours from now, the U.S. Senate is going to consider blocking President Trump's national emergency declaration.
This is an easy decision. It's quite binary. You either are for border security or you're not.
All of those planes are grounded, effective immediately.
An excellent move by President Trump. He's backing aviation workers as well as the flying public.
ICE wanted this illegal immigrant detained 9 times, and now he's charged with murder.
This guy's a monster. If the laws weren't as messed up as they were, our victim would be alive.
Operation Varsity Blues exposing a nationwide
of the world,
and you did.
So Fox News,
and you did. You are a guy, a man of action.
You're welcome.
How do you feel when you see that?
Well,
the song explains it all, right?
I came in at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not like there are a lot of people looking at it. It was, but it's pretty cool. We're right
great
here at 48th
because of
and
you.
6th
You
Avenue.
give us this opportunity to broadcast right here, wake everyone up around the world. Actually, what an
Life
honor.
changes. We're on the front of the building.
Life does change. Yeah, God is good.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday.
All right, it is almost 2 minutes after the top of the hour, and let's get to this. A Fox News alert. Beto O'Rourke officially launching his bid for the White House.
This is a defining moment of truth for this country and for every single one of us. The challenges that we face right now, the interconnected crises in our economy, our democracy, and our climate have never been greater, and they will either consume us or they will afford us the greatest opportunity to unleash the genius of the United States of America. This is going to be a positive campaign that seeks to bring out the very best from every single one of us, that seeks to unite a very divided country.
All right. Well, the former Texas congressman served 3 terms in the Congress, throwing his hat in the ring after losing his congressional campaign to Senator Ted Cruz last year. As you can see right there, he is the 12th Democrat to officially declare a presidential run. Stand by, though, there could be double that number before it's all over.
Right. It seems like the media is firmly in his corner, and Barack Obama met with him in November. Maybe he'll have the Obama machine behind him. Beto became a political celebrity by turning to social media, especially in Texas. He mobilized a lot of young voters as well as minorities. He'll kick off his campaign March 30th in El Paso, Texas.
And he says in this article in Vanity Fair, he's on the front cover of Vanity Fair, and he talks about how he realized he had a gift, he and his wife, in their 3rd campaign tour, or their 3rd campaign event. They realized he doesn't need a script. He just goes up there on stage and he just says whatever comes to mind. He says he takes questions, and realized that he was able to do this and have a gift, and how he wants to unite Republicans. But when you look at how he votes, these are some of his positions. Anti-border wall, voted against ICE, voted against Kate's Law, voted against Trump tax cuts, support single-payer health care, voted against restrictions on late-term abortions, voted against sanctioning Iran, and called law enforcement the new Jim Crow.
3 ago, Ainsley, you mentioned he voted against restrictions on late-term abortions, which means he's for late-term abortion, which, as we have seen in the last month and a half, when you look at the public surveys, a majority of Americans do not feel good about late-term abortion, particularly what we've heard, what was going on down in the Commonwealth of Virginia and here in New York.
If Biden gets in, does he have a shot still?
Biden is going to get in, but right now we had an expert on a couple of days ago, and he said a year from now, the 2 front runners would be Joe Biden and probably Kamala Harris.
And she actually flip-flopped on the death penalty yesterday, so she's got an interesting story going with the stuff she used to be like before and stuff she isn't. Beto O'Rourke's going to have an interesting thing because he's going to have 11 other Democrats asking him basically, what have you done? I don't know how you stay positive if 11 people are going after you and your record. That's going to be the big challenge. But it's a guy, he's got a lot of talent. They call him his candidacy, honesty and decency of Jimmy Carter, and the generational shift of JFK. So that's a lot to live up to.
It was a glowing article. It was definitely favorable for him.
Meanwhile, not favorable for the parents who had a lot of money to try to do whatever they could, including breaking the law to get their children into some elite colleges. Of course, it is, as you know now, Operation Varsity Blues. Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, 2 of the actresses right there, caught up in it. They have posted bond. They are out. John Kennedy, who is a senator from the great state of Louisiana, when he looked at this story, he didn't like it.
This is some of the most odious, vile, repugnant, reprehensible conduct I've ever seen. It made me want to scream, made me want to heave. Think about the hundreds of thousands of kids out there tonight who are studying hard. They're working their rear ends off because they believe in the American dream. And then you have these chuckleheads like these parents come along and do this because they're entitled. I mean, give me a break. This is why people are angry.
So,
and
Senator,
let me say it again.
Yeah,
I vote federal prison.
Wow, federal prison. Keep in mind, this is going to grow. You got 9 coaches, and you have 2 celebrities, and a lot of rich people. But I just think, just logic tells you, that's what the FBI got in 10 months when a whistleblower walked up to them arbitrarily and said, I got a bigger story for you, and man, were they right. And if you see what they wrote up with 300 pages, you know there's going to be a lot more coming as the indictment handed down yesterday. There's restrictions, too, on her freedom. She's not allowed to go. She can go shoot up in British Columbia, but for the most part, she's got to stay in the country, as does her husband. Lori Loughlin.
Well, according to this article in the Post, it's pretty fascinating. We talk about these families that were allegedly a part of this out in California, but there's one family that the Post is highlighting. They live on Fifth Avenue. If you've been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they live right across the street from that. It's like the most expensive property probably in the country.
Right.
And the dad apparently is the founder of a food and beverage distributorship. Gregory and Marcia Abbott are their names, and according to this article, they allegedly bought their daughter's way into college, too.
Well, what's interesting about this article is one of their sons came out yesterday in front of their Park Avenue apartment.
Fifth Avenue, right?
Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
No, Park Avenue, sorry. That is Malcolm Abbott. He is the son, and according to the New York Post, he was smoking on a blunt. He says this of all of this that is going around his parents. They are blowing this whole thing out of proportion, said Malcolm Abbott outside the house that overlooks the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I believe everyone has a right to go to college, man. He also says his parents got roped into this scheme by somebody who cheated them.
Well,
oh, okay, that's fine. So that's really not helping the family, but we'll see. Also, it turns out that Lori Loughlin's daughter, when she got news that this is the USC student, when she got news, she was celebrating on spring break on a yacht owned by a USC board member, trustee.
President.
Yeah, the president. His name is Rick Caruso. She was on a yacht in the Bahamas with him. So, therefore, the optics couldn't be worse.
And that yacht's worth $100 million. But back to that guy that was on the street with the blunt. His parents, according to this article, they paid $125,000 to get his sister's ACT and SAT scores changed. There was a proctor in the room and changed her answers and gave her a perfect score on the math, 800, and 700 on literature. And then for the ACT, she scored a 23. The highest score is a 36. They changed her score allegedly to 35, right. Almost a perfect score.
Apparently the guy who was the mastermind behind this, he knew that if you know, the kids had taken the SATs and it was a score like 1,100 or something like that, you couldn't immediately go to 1,600 or there would be all sorts of red flags. So they would talk to the parents about, okay, what number would you be comfortable with? And then they would essentially negotiate that number. Would it be a
red flag?
And find somebody who could take the test and get them pretty much right there. And according to what we read in the indictment,
I mean, when I was in high school, the people who scored a perfect score or were the top of our school, we knew that they were straight A students all the way through. But if you have a girl who scored a 23 on an ACT, and then all of a sudden rumors spread that she almost gets a perfect score, people are going to be like,
red
what?
flag.
How exactly?
Hello. Yeah, Jillian, you got a perfect score. Was anyone suspicious?
No, I mean, everyone expected it.
They expected it. Fantastic.
You know what's missing in all this is a sense of pride for both parents and students of accomplishing things on your own. That's what's sad.
Completely working hard for it.
Being proud of yourself. All right, let's get to this Fox News alert now, starting with this. A New York City mob boss is gunned down outside his home. Gambino family leader Frankie Cali shot several times in Staten Island. The gunman sped away in a blue pickup truck and is on the run. It's unclear if this was a mafia hit or a rogue gunman. Cali is the highest-ranking mobster killed in New York since 1985, when John Gotti ordered the murder of Gambino boss Paul Castellano. Robert Mueller's top prosecutor is reportedly stepping down, fueling speculation that the probe will soon be over. According to NPR, Andrew Weissman will lead the special counsel's office. Earlier, Judge Andrew Napolitano explained what that might mean.
He's either stepping down because his part of the probe, Manafort, is now over. The other way to look at it is coming to an end. This is all a perfect storm. Manafort sentencing, Gates sentencing, Flynn sentencing, Weissman leaving.
Weissman is also reportedly leaving the DOJ altogether. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's daughter leading a nationwide walkout on Friday. Isra Hirsi is helping organize a student protest against climate change. Thousands of teens are expected to cut class and demand that lawmakers take action. The Minnesota Democrat is calling on members of Congress to join her daughter's protest. And we have some sad news to pass along. The man whose last wish was for a phone call with President Trump, you remember we told you about this. Well, he passed away. Jay Barrett dying overnight, days after the president surprised him with well wishes.
How are you doing? How's it going? You're gonna fight it, right? You're just fighting it?
It's what the Irish do, right?
Yeah, that's what the Irish do. You better believe it. You look good.
Barrett suffered from cystic fibrosis. His sister Bridget, a Connecticut Democrat, helped grant his wish to speak to the president.
That is
so
sad.
Sad. And remember, he said that I plan on voting for you.
In 2020.
Wow.
Bless his heart.
All right. Thank you very much.
Let's glad the president was able to do it.
Nancy Pelosi rejecting any compromise on the president's emergency declaration for the border. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is here to react to that next.
And it sounds like a regular 911 call.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling because there's someone up in front of our house. We just drove home.
House Minority Leader Congressman Kevin McCarthy. So you got about 4 or 5 or maybe more Republicans who are going to vote with Democrats against the president. Your reaction, Leader McCarthy?
Very disappointed in those 4, because you've got to understand, the president has the authority to do this. Just the sheer argument inside the Senate Republican conference saying they want to change the law proves the president has the authority. Think for a moment, is there an emergency? 72,000 people were caught coming across the southern border illegally in February. 11-year high. We know from the drugs that are coming across. We know the challenges of what is happening. He has the authority to do this. If you believe in the rule of law, you would uphold it. Now, even if they win today and they send it to the president's desk, he will veto it. And I'll make this promise to you and to the American public. We will uphold that veto in the House, and it will go, and the president will have the ability to do it.
And Leader McCarthy, isn't he right that you guys kind of left him in a lurch? So for 2 years you had power of the House, and you never gave him the billions, or at least $5 billion he needed to get some significant things done on the wall?
Well, let's make sure your viewers know what the truth is. In the House, we passed $5 billion. In the Senate, it takes 60 votes. And this is the real challenge when everybody say, you had the House, you had the Senate, you had the presidency. Yes, but the way our government works, 60 votes.
No, I know,
in the
but you had
Senate
to go back and put the $5 billion in at the last minute. It wasn't there originally, right?
We passed it in the House, though. Let's give credit where credit is due. The House Republicans passed $5 billion. It was Schumer who stopped it and actually got us into a shutdown.
Beto O'Rourke is going to be running for president. He made it official. The tape's out. You work with him. What's he like on the floor? Has he made a big impact?
Well, he served in the House and I served with him, but to be honest, I can't remember one speech that he gave on the floor or one bill that he passed. It's remarkable that his rise, that he's now running for president, because I can't remember something he's done in the House, and then he just lost a race for the Senate. So in the Democratic Party, that means you're capable or really the person who should run for president.
Your former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, made a statement a couple of days ago saying that if the president runs on his personality, he's going to lose. He's going to run on the issues. He kind of walked it back. But what's your reaction to your colleague, your former colleague?
You know, Paul called after that, and he did try to walk through what he said he was going through, and he was trying to make the point. This president has such a very strong record. He's going to win re-election. Look, I believe this president wins on every aspect of what he's able to do. And think for one moment, we're at 3.8% unemployment. Think what the president said he would do. Get us to 3% growth at the time, President Obama said, what does he have, a magic wand? He proved he can do it. Look at how much stronger the military is. Look what we've done for the VA. This president's going to win re-election in every aspect of what he's able to achieve.
You disappointed Paul Ryan made that statement?
Yeah, I disagree with Paul Ryan in that statement, but I appreciate Paul clarifying what he said the next day.
All right. Leader McCarthy, thanks so much. I know you're going to have a busy day because you're going to make everyone vote on the new Green Deal in the House like they're doing in the Senate. Kevin McCarthy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, 10 minutes before the bottom of the hour. In just a few hours, actor Jussie Smollett will face a judge, and he won't be alone in the courtroom. We're going to preview that next. Plus, Pete Hegseth, who I know, going one-on-one with Vice President Mike Pence in the woods. The exclusive interview next.
In just hours, Empire actor Jussie Smollett will face a judge in Chicago. Cameras will be allowed inside the courtroom.
Including ours. Smollett is expected to plead not guilty to 16 felony counts connected to that alleged fake hate crime against himself.
Jody Lum from our Fox room where Jussie will appear. Hi, Joni.
Hi, Steve, Ainsley, Brian. There's a lot going on for Jussie Smollett right now. The Empire started up again last night. A lot of cameras are assembled here outside the criminal courthouse. He's expected to be assigned a judge today, and then he'll enter a plea. He's already said he's not guilty of staging a racist, homophobic crime against himself. Last night, the season 5 opener of Empire started up, and he was in that show. His character Jamal had some relationship issues, and the producers are saying that later in the season he is not going to be seen in the ending episodes, that this criminal case is just too disruptive to the production. Jussie Smollett came to court this week for a hearing on whether to allow cameras in the courtroom. He was not required to come, but he did, and he walked confidently through the courthouse. Smollett first charged with 1 charge of disorderly conduct, but then that 16-count indictment came back, apparently a charge for each of the alleged lies that he told police, claiming that 2 brothers attacked him in a downtown neighborhood and poured bleach on him and put a rope around his neck. Police said that he did that to advance his career. So he faces that indictment today. There's also going to be a rally outside here, outside the criminal courthouse, a Justice for Jussie rally. So a lot happening here in Chicago. Reporting live, I'm Joni Lum. Now back to you, Ainsley, Steve, Brian.
All right, Joni, thank you very much.
Joni. Vice President Mike Pence touring a Customs and Borders Protections training facility in West Virginia yesterday as the Senate prepares to vote on whether to block President Trump's national emergency declaration.
Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth joins us right now. You went out there. This is a full court press on behalf of the administration to get senators to vote in the president's favor later today.
Absolutely. This is an extension of the promise to build the wall. Congress couldn't do it for 2 years. President tried shutting down the government, ultimately declares a national emergency. Now the House has voted to try to overtake that. The Senate's got a big vote today. The vice president putting on full court pressure to say, if you're with this president, you should not vote to take down the emergency. Take a listen.
All right, Mr. Vice President, what did you see here today? This training facility is where our Customs and Border Protection personnel train through virtual reality and in real circumstances to make sure that the people that are on the front lines have the background and the experience to protect our border and come home safe.
It's a couple of guys in suits out in the woods right now. You were recently on Capitol Hill. The president declared a state of emergency on the border to get access to funds to build the wall that Congress wouldn't build. What is your message to senators on Capitol Hill? It's Republicans at this point wavering on where to vote on this.
It is undeniable that we have a crisis on our southern border. Now, Democrats continue to say that it's a manufactured crisis, but the facts tell the story. What we want to see the Senate do this week is to stand with the president, to stand with the president's declaration of a national emergency. Look, a vote against President Trump's national emergency is a vote against border security. A vote against the president's national emergency declaration is a vote to deny the humanitarian and security crisis that's happening at our southern border. So we're urging every member of the Senate, set politics aside, recognize that we have a crisis. The president has the authority under the National Emergencies Act, vote down the resolution of disapproval, stand with the president, and stand for border security. That's what the American people want.
Do you see any crisis in legitimacy of a wall that has to be built through emergency funding? Is this something the Democrats will continue to rail against, tear down the wall?
You have to understand that the funding the president requested throughout the government shutdown, the funding that we're appropriating now under the law through the national emergency, is all funding that the Department of Homeland Security told us that they needed to construct a physical barrier, a wall in 10 areas of high density population where the people wearing the green uniforms of Customs and Border Protection have told us that they need a barrier to do their job and to do it safely.
There's some reporting about an event recently AEI put on. Vice President Cheney had an interview with you, and he came after you and made some comments about how this administration's foreign policy seems more like the Obama administration than the Reagan administration, talking about NATO and the pullout from Syria. Your response to some of those criticisms from former Vice President Cheney?
Well, look, I have great respect for Vice President Cheney, and we had a good, vigorous debate over this past weekend. Look, when I told him when President Trump ran for office, he made it clear that he's no fan of foreign deployments, that he wanted to bring an end to these endless wars. I know there are some who don't like the fact that the president has called on our NATO allies to pay their fair share of our common defense, to live up to their commitments, but I just know that the American people appreciate.
There are many who do like that.
A president who looks at our allies and says, look, we're going to do our part. You need to do your part. And that's what we call being a leader of the free world.
Absolutely. Sticking with vice presidents, Joe Biden, former vice president, make it into the race. He famously called you a decent guy, and he took some heat for it. Your take on Biden possibly getting into the race?
Well, look, they've got an awfully big field on the other side. The reality that you see on the Democrat side is it's largely being driven by the most extreme liberal elements in their party. And the way Joe Biden caved in to liberal activists after making a kind comment toward me is evidence of the pressure that all of their candidates are going to face. So the truth of the matter is, you've got a party on the other side that is prepared to run on open borders, socialism, abortion on demand, infanticide, Medicare for all, and the Green New Deal. And I like our chances in 2020.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Pete.
Got it.
Great interview.
I'll appreciate it. We'll see how that vote goes today, but a full court press. Are you with the president or not? That's what they're saying to
President's
Republican
walking away from the opportunity that Republicans were giving him to say, okay, we'll give you this, but just promise not to do it again, and we'll get this in legislation. The president goes, no, I'm not taking you up on that.
Nope. Either you're with me on the wall or you're not. We'll see how it goes today.
All right. Good enough.
Appreciate
Pete,
it, guys.
thanks for
Thanks a
making
lot.
the trip.
Thanks, Pete.
You got it.
All right. Meanwhile, Texas Congressman, former Beto O'Rourke, made it official. He's running for president. Does Newt Gingrich like his chances? Take a look. Newt is in the house.
Yeah, I think you're all for Beto. Am I right?
Yep, this is a Fox News alert. 46-year-old Beto O'Rourke, who last time he ran for anything lost to Ted Cruz down in Texas, has announced this morning he is running for president in 2020. It's 2019, so let's bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, and host of a brand new podcast called Newt's World. Newt, good morning to you.
Good to be here.
All right, so what do you think about Beto?
I think it's a free country, and everybody should follow their destiny, and his destiny is to keep losing.
The Vanity Fair sees the JFK quality in him, sees the likability of Jimmy Carter, the oh shucks Jimmy Carter attitude. Do you see the same thing?
I don't know. I mean, does Beto carry empty suitcases? Which Jimmy Carter did to prove he was.
Did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
His suitcases were always empty.
Oh, okay.
But he felt like a common guy, you know. Look, I think Beto O'Rourke is one of the great examples of the left talking itself into hysteria. This guy gets, what, $80 million, runs against Ted Cruz, and loses. At which point the left goes, boy, that was a great race.
But he got close in Texas, which has not been blue in a long time.
Right, it was very exciting. He got close, but I just want to make the point. And he loses. Now, he can't carry his home state, and he wouldn't carry his home state against Trump.
Right. And also, the other component to that race was the fact that Ted Cruz only had 40 million. He had 80, but nonetheless. So, but what about his 3 terms in the House of Representatives? We had Leader McCarthy on Talking to Brian a little while ago. He didn't remember him ever getting anything done.
Well, look, I think that Lincoln only had 1 term in the House and lost the Senate race and ended up as an amazing president. Maybe that'll happen to Beto O'Rourke, but I somehow doubt it. I love the line, I think it's in the Vanity Fair piece, where he says, I was born
to do this.
I thought there's a certain ego illusion here that the planet had that magic moment and Beto O'Rourke showed up
Well,
to
they
save us
probably
from
all
ourselves.
have to have a little bit of that ego in order to run for president of the United States. But
I've never heard any candidate
Other
ever
people
before
talk about that.
say I was born. Even Obama and Trump, who are fairly strong egos, I've never heard either one of them go, I was born to do this.
What's your prediction of the Democratic Party, though? Are they going to vote for someone like him, or are they going to vote for someone like a Joe Biden?
I'm unequivocal. I'm for Kamala Harris.
Why?
African-American woman, largest state in the country, has a great story. I think she's a very effective campaigner, and I just think she'll end up being the nominee.
Well, that's interesting. I know you don't agree with this, but you know that she is getting rid of private insurance. You know she wants to...
Oh, I didn't say she'd win a general election where issues
but you
matter.
just think she's going to emerge?
I think in a Democratic...
And you're not saying you'd vote for her?
No. In a Democratic primary, there's nothing nutty enough to disqualify you.
Okay. It's way out to the left. Got Rahm Emanuel among Democrats who are concerned about it. Yeah. They see the same thing.
Rahm is the guy who masterminded their 2006 national victory in the House. And Rahm understood you'd better be a broad enough party that you can represent a whole country. I don't think some of these people quite get that.
Newt, let's talk a little bit about your podcast. It is brand new. It's called Newt's World. It's available wherever you get your podcast, or at what? newtsworld.com.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, and we've known each other a long time, I like to learn and I like to teach. And podcasts give you a chance to have, you know, a real conversation. The first one we did was on George Washington. We did a great conversation with Patrick Kennedy talking about his addiction and dealing with being an addict and his family and mental health issues. It was really a great conversation. So this lets me go beyond politics and beyond this morning's stories and really look at things that are interesting.
They say this is the golden age of audio. The podcasts are going through the roof. Do you find it rewarding to sit there and talk without time limits?
Well, yeah, but I used to be a college teacher, and I thought 50 minutes was a reasonable long time. So, I'm not saying my students did, but I did.
Right.
And I like doing it. And the one we're going to do on Sunday is about 5G and this whole new technological revolution. So it lets you talk about anything you want to and be much more broad than just talking about politics or whatever the news of the day is.
All right. Welcome to Newt's World. Check it out.
You sold me. I'm going to download it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's take it over to Jillian, who has some headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning to you. 3 people are busted for trying to illegally enter the country on a jet ski. Border Patrol agents say the trio was trying to cross into New York from Canada when they got stuck on ice and actually had to call for help. You can see one of them stranded waiting for a rescue crew near Niagara Falls. All 3 people are facing charges. Federal prosecutors open a criminal investigation into Facebook over the company's data sharing policies. According to the New York Times, a grand jury in New York has subpoenaed records for at least 2 smartphone makers. Investigators believe Facebook gave its partners access to users' information, often without their consent. Facebook says it is cooperating with the investigation. A woman calls 911 when she spots a teenager going crazy in the street.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling because there's someone up in front of our house. We just drove home, and he's yelling and screaming and, like, flailing his arms.
So it turns out the 17-year-old Cleveland Browns fan was just celebrating his team's trade for Odell Beckham Jr.
We got OBJ. I was so excited, I couldn't help myself.
You know, that's team spirit. He says in the end, everyone was excited, including police.
Yeah, but not Giant fans.
I know.
Although most of the talk radio was happy he was gone, which I think is nuts. 26 years old, best receiver.
I know.
Now we know what was happening in the front yard.
Yeah.
Happiness.
Different type of flailing here.
All right.
Thank you, Jillian. Thanks, Jillian. We owe you a favor. 20 minutes out before the top of the hour, ICE wanted to detain this illegal immigrant 9 times. Now he's charged with murder. Dana Lash says this is proof sanctuary policies kill. She joins us next.
Plus, recognize this little boy? Well, he grew up and graduated from law school with a long rap sheet. Detained by ICE 9 times, and now he is charged with murder. Earlier, we spoke to the furious police union leader in that county.
If you are undocumented and you are committing violent crimes and you're convicted, you should go to jail, do your time, and then be deported. The laws weren't as messed up as they were, our victim would be alive. Those need to be changed immediately, and that's what we're asking for.
And that took place out in California. Our next guest says this story is just further proof that sanctuary policies kill innocents. Here to explain, nationally syndicated radio show host, you can see her right there, Dana Loesch, host of The Dana Show. Dana, unfortunately, this story sounds way too familiar.
It does, and good morning to you all. This is a
Morning.
horrific story. This is a horrible crime that could have been prevented if only the state of California was as interested in protecting its innocent citizens as it was in protecting those who enter the country illegally. It's not undocumented. It means that you are in the country, you are trespassing in a sovereign entity, you are here illegally. If you want to fix it, come in legally. There's the difference. But amazingly, I don't understand Democrats' strategy on this, because they are further pushing people away, people that they want to persuade to agree with them on these policies. Now, this particular case, because stories like this, I mean, there's no excuse for it. 9 times, the police chief, Eddie Garcia, had said 9 times ICE had, that a detainer had been applied for by ICE. It was ignored by the county. And on the 10th time, of course, now after he murders this poor woman, Bambi Larson, then on the 10th time, finally, county officials decide, well, I guess we should work with ICE.
Yeah.
We have a guy who's been deported repeatedly. He's been convicted. He was the last convicted. Well, he actually had a couple of other criminal convictions just in recent months. But in 2016, battery on an officer. In 2015, methamphetamine, all kinds of drugs. I mean, his rap sheet is so long. Why are sanctuary city advocates making excuses for thugs like these?
Dana, as a woman, I mean, imagine what she went through when she was taking her last breath. I mean, he stabbed her to death. She had a son. She had reported him for stalking her and other people in the neighborhood, according to that police union president that we interviewed earlier. And you know what he said that's so awful? That this guy is illegal, therefore he was let out. If he were legal, he would still be behind bars and she would still be alive. That is so messed up.
Yeah, it absolutely is messed up. There isn't a priority over innocent citizens where it concerns innocent citizens versus these criminal, illegal aliens, and that is the correct legal term, and everyone needs to get familiar and refamiliarize themselves with using it. None of this undocumented nonsense. You're here illegally. That is a crime, albeit a misdemeanor, still a crime. This guy stalked this woman. He knew where her security cameras were. He tried to make sure he was out of view of all of her security cameras. This was methodical. This guy's rap sheet, a dangerous individual, one of many who have taken the lives of innocent people. Innocent people are paying in blood for the sanctuary city policies that Democrats, including all of the 2020 Democrat presidential primary contenders, are supporting.
Right. Well, the thing is, the president went out, tried to fulfill a campaign promise, and the courts told him, no, you can't. So we're at a standstill. Now we're all just talking at each other, and the victims are paying the price, in this case, with their lives. Thanks, Dana.
Breaks your heart. It breaks your heart. The prayers for this woman's family. God bless them.
She has a son.
All right. Dana Loesch from The Dana Show, thank you very much for joining us today from Texas.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Fox News Channel's own Greg Jarrett and his wife Kate are making spicy chicken tacos. She will reveal her secret coming up.
And if you want to see jealousy, Bill Hemmer, jealous that we got the Jarrett couple on and he does not.
Send some up. I mean, come on, guys.
We did last time. We'll have to do it again.
Share the wealth, will you? Great show this morning. Great clip by Johnny Carson, too, by the way. Wasn't that cool to see him?
Yes.
Really
Makes us
cool
miss him.
stuff. Make it a great day, guys. In a moment here, big morning, cameras in the courtroom, and Jussie Smollett makes an appearance. We will have that live. He's up against a lot of charges today. Roger Stone's in a courtroom this morning, too. We're watching that as well. Overnight, a mob boss is murdered in front of his own home in the college scandal that's growing by the hour. Also, Hogan Gidley joins us from the White House. He is our headliner today. I think that's enough, right? 3 hours, 9 to noon. Come.
We spoke to the furious police union leader in that county.
If you are undocumented and you are committing violent crimes and you're convicted, you should go to jail, do your time, and then be deported. The laws weren't as messed up as they were, our victim would be alive. Those need to be changed immediately, and that's what we're asking for.
And that took place out in California. Our next guest says this story is just further proof that sanctuary policies kill innocents. Here to explain, nationally syndicated radio show host, you can see her right there, Dana Loesch, host of The Dana Show. Dana, unfortunately, this story sounds way too familiar.
It does, and good morning to you all. This is a horrific story. This is a horrible crime that could have been prevented if only the state of California was as interested in protecting its innocent citizens as it was in protecting those who enter the country illegally. It's not undocumented. It means that you are in the country, you are trespassing in a sovereign entity, you are here illegally. If you want to fix it, come in legally. There's the difference. But amazingly, I don't understand Democrats' strategy on this, because they are further pushing people away, people that they want to persuade to agree with them on these policies. Now, this particular case, because stories like this, I mean, there's no excuse for it. 9 times, the police chief, Eddie Garcia, had said 9 times ICE had, that a detainer had been applied for by ICE. It was ignored by the county, and on the 10th time, of course, now after he murders this poor woman, Bambi Larson, then on the 10th time, finally, county officials decide, well, I guess we should work with ICE. Yeah. We have a guy who's been deported repeatedly. He's been convicted. He was last convicted. Well, he actually had a couple of other criminal convictions just in recent months. But in 2016, battery on an officer. In 2015, methamphetamine, all kinds of drugs. I mean, his rap sheet is so long. Why are sanctuary city advocates making excuses for thugs like these?
Dana, as a woman, I mean, imagine what she went through when she was taking her last breath. I mean, he stabbed her to death. She had a son. She had reported him for stalking her and other people in the neighborhood, according to that police union president that we interviewed earlier. And you know what he said that's so awful? That this guy is illegal, therefore he was let out. If he were legal, he would still be behind bars and she would still be alive. That is so much.
Innocent citizens versus these criminal, illegal aliens, and that is the correct legal term, and everyone needs to get familiar and refamiliarize themselves with using it. None of this undocumented nonsense. You're here illegally. That is a crime, albeit a misdemeanor, still a crime. This guy stalked this woman. He knew where her security cameras were. He tried to make sure he was out of view of all of her security cameras. This was methodical. This guy's rap sheet, a dangerous individual, one of many who have taken the lives of innocent people. Innocent people are paying in blood for the sanctuary city policies that Democrats, including all of the 2020 Democrat presidential primary contenders, are supporting.
Right. Well, the thing is, the president went out, tried to fulfill a campaign promise, and the courts told him, no, you can't. So we're at a standstill. Now we're all just talking at each other, and the victims are paying the price, in this case, with their lives. Thanks, Dana.
Breaks your heart. It breaks your heart. The prayers for this woman's family. God bless them.
She has a son.
All right. Dana Lash from The Dana Show, thank you very much for joining us today from Texas.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Fox News Channel's own Greg Jarrett and his wife Kate are making spicy chicken tacos. She will reveal her secret coming up.
And if you want to see jealousy, Bill Hemmer, jealous that we got the Jarrett couple on and he does not.
Set some up. I mean, come on, guys.
We did last time. We'll have to do it again.
Share the wealth, will you? Great show this morning. Great clip by Johnny Carson, too, by the way. Wasn't that cool to see him?
Yes.
Really
Makes us
cool
miss him.
Make it a great day, guys. In a moment here, big morning, cameras in the courtroom, and Jussie Smollett makes an appearance. We will have that live. He's up against a lot of charges today. Roger Stone's in a courtroom this morning, too. We're watching that as well. Overnight, a mob boss is murdered in front of his own home in the college scandal that's growing by the hour. Also, me in 10 minutes, top of the hour.